So I'm just going to show you how to make a little beach hut glass tile like this, using a couple of layers of glass and some different types of wire to create these kind of effects. And I'm starting off with 2 pieces of clear Tecta glass, it's called, which is made by a company called Bullseye. I've got one on the bottom there, and I'm going to put some detail here and then finish it off with another layer on top. I've pre-cut the beach huts using indigo glass, which is about 2mm thick. I'm just going to put them to one side for a minute while I make the background. The first thing I'm going to do is try and create this effect in the sky, which is by using little bits of copper leaf, which starts off looking like this. And I just tear it really. Tend to keep it in its paper for a little while, for as long as you can, otherwise it kind of sticks to your fingers and things. So I'm just tearing it into angular, irregular little shapes and just layering it down directly on the glass. And then when it is fired, it will oxidise and go that beautiful blue colour. And it will leave a few bubbles behind and give it a real sense of movement. Probably do just another one there, because a lot of that detail is going to get covered up by the beach huts. So that's going to give the illusion of a sky. Now to create the idea of some seabirds, I've got some wire, copper wire. This is 0.9mm. Again, when it fires, when it's fused between 2 sheets of glass, it actually doesn't stay copper colour, it goes black. I've pre-cut these and I've pre-twisted them, but I've just cut like a couple of millimetres. I've just twisted it with some pliers into the shape of a bird. Just putting another one there, so just to kind of give the idea that they're flying. So the colour does sink into the background at the moment, but when it fires, this is going to go blue and the birds are going to go kind of a black colour and stand out against it. So the next thing would be to lay down my beach huts. Don't like anything kind of too straight. It's nice to have a little bit of movement, playfulness. So I'm going to put them at a little angle like that. And again, it's just nice to make the most of the effects that happen when you fire glass, when you fire layers of glass together. Air tries to escape when it's heated, and if there's enough air trapped, then they leave behind bubbles. And it really gives a sense of movement and fluidity. So another way I'm going to do that is by twisting wire, which will kind of go along this bottom here. And again, there's quite a lot of kind of bubbles that are left behind there. And it just makes it look quite playful. So I'm just twisting that with my hands into any old shape really. It just gives the sense that the beach huts are kind of sitting on something other than air. And you don't have to make it flat, because almost the more kind of raised it is when it's fired, the more bubbles you have, which would be no good for a coaster obviously, but it's really good if you're going to put it in a picture, because it makes it look quite 3D. So that would be my first layer. Probably just going to shuffle these around a little bit, maybe move it up slightly higher. I do like fused glass, it's messy, and anytime you put anything down, you don't have to overcommit to how it's going to look. You can take it off and try again. So we've got all this detail down here now, just making sure that the roofs look like they're actually on. Then I'm going to put this layer on top. That should sit quite nicely. I'm going to just kind of break up some of that texture slightly with little bits of confetti, it's called, which is really thin glass. It just breaks up some of the hard edges. Again, I'm just moving it around with a paintbrush to kind of get it where I want it. and this customer's asked for it to be in indigo. So normally I do it in a lighter colour, put a little doorknob on with like black enamel or something. But I'll just do this in really fine bit of frit. So it's always a trick of kind of visualising when you're making something out of glass, because when it fires it's all going to melt together and colours will change, textures will change, bubbles will emerge. And so it's always a bit of fun when you're opening the door to see how it's going to look. But you have to wait, it takes hours. And I'll fire it up to about 790 degrees. So it takes a good few hours to fire, cooling really slowly so that you don't get any gaps or cracks. So yeah, it's a really rough overview of how to make a beach hut tile.